Well, US President Joe Biden is said to be extremely concerned about Israel's next phase of its war in Gaza, quoting two official sources. The news website Axios says Biden warned Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that an offensive in southern Gaza could worsen the humanitarian crisis. Let's go to William Lawrence. He's Professor of International Relations at the American University and a former US diplomat. He joins us now live from Washington, D.C. So I want to ask you about these ongoing negotiations. We have 2 hours, under 2 hours now, until that ceasefire is due to expire. One would expect that with the experience of 2 rounds of negotiations, it would actually be easier to reach some sort of agreement or on an expansion of a deal, yet that doesn't seem to be the case.
No, it's the opposite for a couple of reasons. One is that already 40% of the hostages have been released by all the best accounts. And now we're getting into the trickier cases, probably some injured hostages, men, IDF soldiers, people not held by Hamas. And officially, the truce already expired. The Israelis extended it from midnight to 7 a.m. Israel-Palestine time. Because they didn't like the list they were given. Now, I didn't see anything in the deal as articulated internationally that said Israel gets to start the war again because they don't like the 10 names. So I suspect there's incredible amounts of pressure coming from the Americans and others onto the Israelis to say, take the list. And some officials are saying there could be an extension of 1, 2, 3, or 4 days more. But there's a point at which the formulas change. You may remember some years ago, one Israeli soldier was traded for 1,000 Palestinians, an Israeli soldier held by Hamas. And I think the IDF soldiers, as Palestinian representatives keep saying, are worth more. And so there's a bigger deal and a different deal that needs to be made.
And what do you think that could be? Because, I mean, what do you think could be the reasons for this apparent reluctance of both Israel and Hamas to prolong the truce?
So Hamas has a bunch of conditions that they've been articulating at various times, as well as have Palestinian officials in the West Bank. But, you know, one of the big ones is they want to save the last hostages for the end of the occupation. As you know, right now, Israel's occupying about 10% of Gazan territory and has, you know, de jure control of the whole thing. And we're facing the possibility of a bombing campaign in the south, which would really anger Biden, given the way he's articulated red lines about how Israel can't continue the bombardment the way it did before. And so, you know, we're at this point where even some Israelis are saying quietly, or analysts and stuff, that they should just release all of the Palestinian prisoners, over 2,000 of which are being held without charges, another 5,000 in Palestinian jails, for all of the rest of the hostages. I don't think that's what will happen. I think it's going to be more of this drip, 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 and hopefully with a lot of Qatari ingenuity and American pressure, this ceasefire can extend for as long as possible, as Biden said he prefers.
The U.S. Secretary of State in Israel, he arrived in the last few hours. The U.S. have made it clear they do want the ceasefire extended at least. Will it make it harder for Israel to resume the fighting?
Absolutely. I've never seen so much disagreement between the Americans and Israelis publicly and privately as with this war, and it's a relationship I've been studying for decades. And so the pressure's on, and yet there's this, you know, various types of bear hugging going on, saying, look, Israel, we're not doing this because we don't like you. We're doing this because it's in your best interest to stop killing people. It's in your best interest to get the hostages out, et cetera, et cetera. It's in your best interest not to create a bigger, more angrier Hamas by creating a lot more martyrs and death and destruction. So the negotiations are ongoing. They're very complicated. I think one of the interesting wrinkles is part of the discussions are already what will the after-war Gaza look like, because Netanyahu laid out unreachable objectives here, and yet there's going to have to kind of a sort of rejiggering of the objectives for Israel to exit at some point, declare some sort of victory, and then whoever's governing in Gaza to be accepted by all parties.
Really good to get your perspective. William Lawrence, Professor of International Relations at the American University. Thank you.